Hello everyone, welcome back to the English Literary Society podcast. I'm Taiba, your Vice President.
And I am Habiba, President English Literary Society. Today we are thrilled to have a guest with us whose work is reshaping the way we think of language, culture, and storytelling.
Yes, joining us today is Dr. Farrukh Nadeem, an Assistant Professor of English at Islamic International University, Islamabad. He's a celebrated author and a writer. He's well known for his book, Fiction, Discourse and Cultural Spatiality, and also known for his work in Dastan narrative.
He is also a talented short story writer with his work published in both Urdu and English. We can't wait to dive into his journey and explore his unique perspective on literature and his thoughts on the cultural power of storytelling.
So let's get started. Dr. Farrukh, thank you for joining us today. And let's begin with our questions. How do you define literature?
Thank you very much. First of all, literature, according to me, it is the well-known definition that we have in our academics and in our cultural practices. People call it that's a reflection of life, and it's a representation of life, presentation or representation of life. So according to my opinion, literature talks about those hidden aspects of history that are generally, deliberately or unconsciously ignored by the historians. Literature, secondly, literature is mainly concerned with abnormalities of life. Anything that is normal, that is domain of popular literature. Anything that is abnormal, that is transgressive, that is unusual, that is insane, that is the focus of literary text. Right. Thirdly, literature is a reflection of life, but definitely it's an artistic reflection of life, not generally reflection of life. Okay. Yeah. It's not a coded camera picture of life. Right. So there are so many experimentations that we make, and we foreground our text. We foreground our message on the basis of so many devices that we use. Deviations are there, and these deviations sum up our message, and they reflect our thoughts and emotions in a befitting way. This is how literature works, and this is how literature, according to me, is composed.
Thank you, sir. If we discuss about your book, what inspired you to explore discourse, fiction, and cultural speciality, and what do you think are the key insights for readers to gain?
Well, it's a very interesting event in my history, particularly. I was sent a novel by a writer whose name is Pegama Faki. He belonged to India. He is now no more in this world. He died a few years back. So the name of this novel was Makan. Okay. When I started reading it, and I discussed some of its aspects with the thematic aspects with the writer, he said, "Could you please write something on it?" And I started writing an essay on it. As you know, that I am writing in both languages, in Urdu as well as in English. So I started reading this, writing an essay on it, and I showed this essay to my friends. These friends, they are well known in literary circles of Rawalpindi and Islamabad. They said, do something more. I mean, you should add something to this essay. It's still incomplete.
So it was initially a book review?
It was initially a book review. When I was reading this novel, I came to know that it is not about this novel is not about a makan of mud and clay and bricks. Okay? It is about something else. So what was that else? Okay, something else that became my obsession later. Further, what is the story of this novel? In this novel, there is a female protagonist who is trying to save her makan, her house. Actually, it was not her house, metaphorically, symbolically. It is her soul, her body, her heart, her existence, her survival. So I took in a different way, and I started writing what does this on this aspect, what is the meaning, what is the signification, or what is the symbolic value of this makan. So I started writing with that. Later on I came to know that this space has been theorized by Western writers and like Edward Soya, Lefebvre, and Robert Haley, even many Marxist writers, they were also involved in carrying out this discussion. Then it was a great discovery for me that this space is a perennial issue in human history. It is everybody's concern, basically. Your space, my space, our collective space, our individual space. To support my argument and to have a good reading of Urdu literature, I consulted 19th century literature. How does this space work? In 19th century Urdu literature. And he came out, it's really a matter of this space. Everybody's concerned with his and her space. So, for example, Miratul Rus is a novel that is written by Deputy Nazir Ahmad. There are two characters. There are not only two characters. Basically, these are two spatial conditions. Asgari and Akbari are two spatial conditions. They are ideologically determined, designed, and shaped by their cultural environments. What I later on discovered that there's a difference between place and space. Sometimes place and space are similar, but many often, your space is different from your place. I mean, our space we can be well placed right? For example, a girl when she marries and when she goes to her in-laws, and right after her marriage, she's given place in our culture. She's not given space. She's earned space on the basis of many other things, my cooperation and sometimes dowry and sometimes her financial conditions. All these things, they determine her space. But initially she is given her place, right? For example, many people, they migrated after partition, migrated from India to Pakistan and from Pakistan to India, and all the novels and short stories that are written on this migration, right? In the background drop of this partition, when we observe closely, what we see that they are given places, not spaces. Another example that I can quote here, that many black communities, they are living in US and other European communities, countries, but they have places, not spaces. So all our diaspora writers, what they are talking about, they are basically concerned not about their places, but their spaces. So this is how, by developing this thematic aura, and by developing this argument, I started analyzing this particular novel that I was sent by Begum Afaki, and I wrote a comprehensive essay, almost 50 pages on that, and I sent it. It was published in various magazines in India, and later when I was encouraged that wonderful essay, it is really something new. Then people motivated to write something more on this issue, and ultimately this book is in my hand. That is in your hands right now.
Very much relevant to every individual, especially
every individual. When we consult different Western writers, for example, Lefebvre, Edward Soya, and Robert Haley, they apply so many confusing, difficult, challenging theories and models to analyze some literature that a common person like me, he may be, confused, and he may be in danger to understand all these things. So after consulting these things, I came to know that our issues, definitely there are also spatial issues, but we will have to be more cultural than cosmopolitan, then metropolitan, and then industrialized, because still we are not an industrialized society. I can easily talk about spatial dimensions of New York, but that is not my personal experience. So keeping in view our collective, my personal as well as collective experience of Pakistani communities, I started analyzing these novels that I was having in my hands. So first of all, what I did, I started my journey from primitive texts, then I started talking about medieval texts, and I'm keeping in view this issue of space. And then Victorian era, and then partition era, and then modern, and then postmodern. So my book, you can term it, you can call it as a history of space in Urdu as well as English fiction. It's a bilingual book. It's written in Urdu. Why was it in Urdu? I have told you that the novel that was sent to me, that was Makan, that was not written in English. The people are right now, they are translating it into English. But as you know, that I'm also attached with, or associated with literary circles of Pakistan, Halqa Wabizot and Progressive Writers Movement. So to introduce this topic to my local culture, local literary circles, I had to write this book. It was published in 2018, before I did my PhD.
So very curious, what challenges did you face while applying these theories like structuralism and post-structuralism to Dastan narrative? And how did you adapt these Western frameworks to our rich and traditional narratives of our culture?
My research work, that is, a kind of intersectional study of, in Dastan narratives and Western theories, that structuralist and post-structuralist analysis of Dastan narratives. You know, Dastan narratives are very popular. They have been central, portion of our social activities. They played very, very important role in shaping the themes and techniques of our local writings. It was a great tradition that was established, in the time of Akbar the Great, and it continued till the advent of the colonizers, and it ended in almost in 1922, according to some critics. So the last Dastan go that we have, that he is Bakir. His name is Bakir. He used to, after that we don't have this tradition. Nowadays people are trying to revive this, and they are revisiting Dastans and they are telling the story. So it was always there in my mind. So when I came to know that Western writers, narratologists and structuralists particularly, they are very much interested in analyzing their own cultural and traditional Dastan. So I turned my attention towards my own Dastan. So as you can say a structuralist, as a narrator, as a student of narratology and a student of structuralism and post-structuralism, I had to contact to my own culture. For example, if you are interested in studying musical patterns, so definitely if you don't understand your own musical pattern, you won't be able to understand Western musical patterns. So this is what is always in my mind, that without being local, we cannot become global. So we will have to justify this relationship with that. Okay, this connectivity is very important. We cannot, discontinue with our own cultural tradition and assimilate ourselves and our minds and hearts with Western. So when I was when I started my journey, what were the challenges that were? It was, first of all, two different poles that I was trying to yoke together. First, we have Dastan from, but these Dastans were definitely the Dastan that I was working on. They were translated into English, so it was quite easy for me to highlight structuralism. Of course, structuralism and post-structuralism both are somehow different, but there are some layers that are also similar. Structuralism is still there in post-structuralism. Well, so when I was analyzing it, I had to focus on structuralist patterns, and at the same time, half of my portion was concerned with poetics of Dastan, and half of it was concerned with politics of Dastan, or politics in Dastan. So that was very much challenging.
Thank you for these insights, and after listening to your journey and the story, I'm really intrigued to read this book. Before we dive deeper into your research, we would like to switch things up with a quick fire round. So this is going to be a fun segment. We'll throw out some English literary genres, and you have to tell us the first thought or word that comes to your mind.
Politics of horror. Gothic. According to me, Gothic literature is just the politics of horror. Horror is politicized.
And romanticism.
Rural nature.
Modern modernism?
Modernism, alienation, frustration, disillusionment, disintegration, existentialism, absurdism.
Science fiction?
Science fiction, post-human.
Comedy?
Comedy, happy ending.
Moving back to the discussion, sir, Dastan narratives are such a rich part of our literary heritage, and as you were just talking about it, if I ask you what initially drew you to study them?
That's the narrative. I was reading some books, some material on narratology. Okay. In narratology, Vladimir Prof from people from Vladimir Prof, who are structuralists like Rombach or Kudrov or Greimas, they are more interested in their classical, traditional, particularly dastans or narratives or fables or you can say their allegories or their, narratives, classical, that were written in Middle Ages. Right, okay. Some of them were interested in highlighting structural patterns of myths, Greek myths, Roman myths. So from that, this analysis, I came to know that I can work on my own classical narrative patterns, and I can highlight what are the linguistic and narrative constituents which have made them and which have summed up in these stories into something what we call organic whole. You can be amazed to see that this dastan, the volume of this dastan is so big and so huge. It's a colossal structure. Almost 48,000 pages have been written on dastan Amir Hamza. 48,000 pages have been written. Dastan goes, it was an oral tradition, and in the time of colonialism, these dastans were composed, they were transformed from oral culture to written culture, and many writers, they spent their life, they spared there and they spent their lives in recording these dastans. Okay, so nowadays almost 48,000 pages of dastan Terisme Koshurban from different names, but the central heroes are the same. Different families, it was basically different families were involved in telling these stories. Later on, they were, all these family members, they were asked to record these people, they were typing and they were composing them in books. The process started at Munshi Nawal Kishore Press. Okay, it took the responsibility of recording these dastans, and many families, they were asked to tell the stories so that people could easily transform this dastan oral culture into written culture. So that's why these dastans were already in my mind, because in my childhood I used to write, I used to read and enjoy these stories, and those stories of Umru Yar, Amir Hamza, and what we have Umru Yar, and other characters as well. So there is a myth, and there is intertextuality. There's so many beautiful things that we need to. What I felt at that time, that I personally need to discover hidden beauties and bounties of these dastans and to foreground it in my academic culture, so that people could realize that we do have this colossal building and that's being ignored.
Sir, your research brings dastan narratives into dialogue with contemporary issues and ideas about storytelling. In what ways do you think these narratives continue to resonate with us modern readers, and how might they offer new perspectives on our evolving cultural identity in Pakistan?
There are two parts of this question. First of all, I say that we can enjoy the narrative patterns of these dastans. Okay, the sequence of events, and then beginnings and middles and endings, and there are different episodes. Thousands and thousands of episodes, minor and major episodes are there, and they have each episode is having its own beginning, middle, and then ending, and then there are different events. There's interconnectivity between these stories or events, right? We enjoy these events. Secondly, issues are almost same. Okay, that's why I invoked and I included post-structuralist study of this dastan, because gender issues are there. Then we have racism is there, and then we have religious issues, then sectarian issues, then the issues of space and place, and issues of class, and other discriminations are there. Yes. So at the same time, so these post-colonial issues, they made me post-structuralist issues. This study, post-structuralist study, it made me realize that we can create a correlation between the themes and contents of this dastan with our contemporary situation. So the dastan can, on one hand, can make you thrilled. There's a lot of sensation in dastan. You can enjoy its beauty at the same, or aesthetic patterns. But at the same time, there are so many politics involved in that. By applying local, the current contemporary theory on it, you can you can make your research and you can enjoy it more. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for your
Secondly, these dastans, they have, in the beginning we used to have dastan, as you know, that there are different patterns in human evolution, mythical, and then we have folktale pattern, and then we have modern pattern. So, dastan, you can say that they are the most ancient form of expression or narratives, and they are still there in the, they live as an archetype. Okay, these stories, these events, they are living in our minds like archetypes, psychological archetypes. So they are always there in my minds.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a detailed answer. Let's take a quick break here before we move on.
Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Comment your thoughts on this question. Which English literary genre resonates most with modern readers, or with you?
So moving back to where we left, you participated in the fellowship program in US. We would like to know how this experience shaped your view of cultural studies, and can you tell us any notable difference of how literature is perceived and taught abroad?
First of all, whether it's Pakistan or Europe or America, what I have realized, because I belong to this postmodern and post-colonial and this post 9/11 era. So I visited the US, and the debates that we have here, they were also there. So the biggest question they were obsessed with is US teachers and students of us. They were, what's the difference between ideology and culture? And it's a coincidence, or what can say, that we do have this question here. All our students, including me, we are also concerned. We are trying to overcome this issue, and we are trying to solve this issue. What's the difference between ideology and culture? Some people, most of us, they take culture as an ideology, but they were having this. They have different forms of ideology. Less concerned with the religious and sectarian issues, but still there are different kinds of manifestations of ideology, and they were trying to interpret their literature, keeping in mind those manifestations. Similarly, we have also this issue, the difference between ideology and culture. When I was there, so when I was asked this question, I interpreted according to my own opinion. So there's difference. Ideology, it intervenes into different forms of culture, and it presents as itself. This culture is ideology. So ideology, it works, or it operates through different mechanics, cultural mechanics. So this is how ideology works. Indeed, culture is different. Culture, industry, and culture are two different things. Traditional culture. Outside this agriculture, we hardly say that's culture. Culture is conditioned with agriculture. Agriculture, right? So all our cultural activities nowadays, we are missing them, and they are not getting popularity. And what we have nowadays, all religious sectarian activities, they are called cultural activities. they are ideological celebrations. They are not cultural activities. So that's a difference. So there, secondly, they were also, very much interested in knowing the culture of subcontinent. They were interested in, our films, our movies, and our other narrative patterns. One question that I enjoyed really, that was about our traditional, folk theatre. So luckily, I had this experience of watching these folk theatres when I was schoolboy. So I used to watch these folk theatres in village fairs. So I started telling the stories of those, how this theatre it used to work in our villages, and it became mesmerizing activity, central activity of our village fairs. The third thing, they asked me to tell us some folk tales. Very much interested in folk tales. Apart from these, research seminars and there were two formal gatherings and informal gatherings. Informal gatherings, definitely, we used to have different sessions on different issues like gender issues, like our these race issues and post-colonial, post-structuralist and feminist issues. We presented different papers there and we attended different workshops. But here, but at the same time, side by side, in informal discussion, they were asking different questions on our own culture, traditions. Okay. Another difference that I felt that they used to initiate any discussion with this word that's called philosophy. They asked us, what is the philosophy of teaching? What is the philosophy of literature? What is the philosophy of linguistics? What is the philosophy of teaching linguistics? What is the philosophy of teaching and learning literature? What is the philosophy of this poem? What is the philosophy of this? This word philosophy was very much there, and that's still missing in our culture, in our academic activities. That I enjoy a lot.
Sir is a writer of both Urdu and English short stories. How do you navigate the cultural and linguistic nuances of both the languages? And do you approach storytelling differently depending on the language?
Well, there are two important things in telling a story and writing a story. One is your theme and the other one is your expression, okay, your style. Your style depends, all of us we do have different themes, different issues in our minds, and we write. And basically, literature is byproduct of our social and cultural ideological experience. Okay, if there is no in-depth experience in any culture, you won't be able to write a comprehensive and a story with a cogent idea. It will be a very weak story. So sound experiences mean perception of that, synthesis of that experience. You live with that experience, and whether you enjoy it or not, but you live with that experience for some moments, for some time, for some days, and even for some years. And after that, you regard it in words, right? So on both sides, what we felt that there are two types of writers. Writers who write readerly short stories and novels. Readerly means easily consumed by the readers. Easily consumed and easily digested by the readers. On the other hand, we have writers who make different linguistic, stylistic, and narrative experimentations in their fictions, and they make their stories more complex and more thought-provoking at the same time. When these phrases and when these patterns are revealed to the reader, they start enjoying. This kind of writing style is called writerly. These terms are not my terms, my own terms. They are introduced by Ron Barth. Okay, so Barthian terms are readerly and writerly. So I enjoy and I try to write a writerly text. They are not easily. Some people they make objection that what you write it should easily be understood by the readers. That's not my cup of tea. Even when you start reading this book, in the very first page, you will be realizing that's difficult. Why it should be? Because we live, as T.S. Eliot has said, that we live in a complex age. So complexity of societies is there. It should be there it should be reflected through our words, literary words.
It should be thought-provoking.
It should be thought-provoking at the same time. Yeah. So in my short stories, there's a lot of, narrative experimentation. You will enjoy it. That book is impressive. It's going to be published very soon.
So now we are moving towards the last segment of our today's podcast, and we'll be asking you a few questions our audience shared with us. Sir, what advice would you give to young writers who want to explore this intersection between language, culture, and storytelling?
First of all, that a reader should, if he or she is interested in creative writing particularly short story and novel, he should read a lot. Bewitching for the readers as well. At the same time, they will be, there will be a lot of literariness in your. So for the sake of literariness, you shouldn't be very direct in your short story. So it's an art you learn with the passage of time, and in the end, you will certainly enjoy this kind of writing. Yeah.
So you gave us a hint towards an upcoming project or a book. Would you like to share?
I have already written 3 books. One book I have written on one short story written by Toba Tek Singh, written by Shadat Hasan Minto. It is there, and very soon it's going to be published. Another book that is in my that is there, and I have written it. That is on semiotics. Yeah, semiotics. The third book that is in press. That's one book of my short stories.
Finally, sir, would you like to recommend us one book in English and one in Urdu that readers should be?
First of all of you should read the books by Sibte Hasan. Sibte Hasan. Okay, in Urdu. He's must. Okay, he's a must. His books like Musa Se Marx Tak, and then the Mazi Ke Mazar, and right. So these books are very important for every student of literature and culture. So in English, there are, as far as creative writing is concerned, short story, particularly James Joyce is a must. His stories like Dubliners, you should start your journey with Dubliners. Very important, mesmerizing, and full of these experimentations, narrative experimentation that I am already talking about. These are there. So you will learn a lot from his stories. Secondly, as far as philosophical books are concerned, Will Durant's books, philosophical books, must. Will Durant's books on philosophy. Okay, they are must. Another book, you must have read that, Sophie's World. Have you read it?
Sophie's
novel. Philosophical novel, Sophie's World. Oh, Sophie's World. बहुत अच्छी किताब. That's a wonderful book. So you should read it. It's a must. Okay. Some other books are also there, like there's a book, Ideology, Spatiality, and then Discourse by Sarah Mills. But it was Zabardast, wonderful books. Yeah.
Yes, we've studied Sarah Mills this semester.
Sarah Mills?
Yes.
Wonderful. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. So thank you, sir, for your insights,
I'm grateful.
your experience with us. It was really nice having you, and we look forward to having you for another, maybe a workshop with our society members.
Why not?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.